I'm gonna sell. Your friendly Hollywood cynic is actually gonna
Ooh.
sell this one. If last year was a
Ooh.
bad Hollywood event, it wasn't because Poltergeist was bad. And for what it's worth, crucify me in the comments or in person or wherever. I thought Killer Clowns was always much better as a haunt in Hollywood than it was Orlando. Am I excited to see it a third time? Not really, but it could be worse.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the HHN Graveyard Show. Today we're going to be talking about some very exciting stuff, our first speculation episode of the season, as well as a recap of the HHN 30 event from 5 years ago at this point. But of course, I'm not doing this alone. Billy, how are you doing?
That's me. I'm doing great. How about yourself, Josh?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing really wonderful. I can't believe we were just talking about before we started recording. We have like 4.5 months until the event starts. Can you believe that?
It's crazy. Crazy to think. And I mean, we've got what, the third earliest haunt reveal in recent memory with Jack and Oddfellow
Chucky and
Carnival and whatever it's called.
Chucky in 22 going into 23 and then Stranger
Didn't we get
Things.
I think Beetlejuice was
Right.
like
Yeah, yeah. That
January,
was
February or something, wasn't
that
it?
was a weird year though, wasn't it? Cuz we like Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, 2020 pre-COVID. They did the
Yep.
one thing in like February or something. Yeah. It was a weird one. We're going to talk about it actually. So, okay. We can get started then, to be honest. So we are going to start what we are hoping is a very exciting segment, a feature of our podcast that is going to be, it's going to get better. We're going to do this live at some point, when we both have some more time to get it all figured out. Lots of tech to work on, but in the meantime, we want to play a lot of games. We think games are a more exciting way to share this speculation than just like, well, this is what they announced and blah blah blah, and like every other podcast does it. So we're going to do something a little different. So we're going to introduce a bunch of different games that we're going to play. But the first one that we're going to play is one called Buy or Sell. So in this case, what we're going to do is that we are going to introduce 6 different questions, and we are going to say, all related to Horror Nights, around the country right now. There isn't really any speculation that I know of in Japan, Singapore, or Beijing yet. Around the country, talking about some of the things that have been announced, or at least have been rumored. We're going to say whether we buy that idea or the thought that's expressed, or whether we sell it. And then to make it a little bit more interesting, to add a little bit of kind of meta to the game, we are going to pick one of these 6 statements that we are the most confident on, and we are going to lock it in. And then at the end of speculation season, or at the end of after the event, if it's a how good is this house type question, we are going to tally up. We're going to do one of those every single week. We're going to tally up all of our selections, and whoever gets the most correct, which is going to be an entire episode, wins the title of Speculation Master, whatever it is, for the entire year. You get bragging rights for the entire year. So, Billy, keep that in mind when we're going through these questions. You got to not only answer it right, but you got to be confident about one of them. Sound good?
Sounds good. I would first and foremost, I would like to congratulate you on winning the title of Speculation Master for HHN. But
We'll see.
I'm not going to go down without a fight.
Okay, good. That's what I like to hear. Yep. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a group of 3 questions, or 3 or 4 questions for Orlando. We're going to do one on Hollywood, one on Horror Unleashed. But Billy, this is we actually have some exciting stuff to talk about in Orlando. You alluded to it earlier in our little conversation here. So why don't you tell us about what was announced for Horror Nights in Orlando?
Yes, we got our first haunt announcement during spring break in March. So we have Jack and Oddfellow, Chaos and Control. So we actually got a lot of details about this haunt for this early on, which is super awesome. During this presentation, Mike Aiello kind of laid out some things that we can say that we for sure know. So this is going to be a 3-part haunted house. It's going to have 3 main story beats. The first part is Jack the Clown's origin story, kind of told through Dr. Oddfellow's lens, in a sense. After that, Jack kind of breaks out and is like, hey, this is my story, my narrative. And we start to see his version of things before Jack and Oddfellow meet. And we go into what is being called the Oddverse for this Jack and Oddfellow clash for the final third. super technologically advanced haunt. It's being touted as the most technologically advanced that the event has ever seen. Um, Rumors point to this being in Soundstage 22, where El Artista was last year, based off of the code names that have been leaked. And this seems to be a very, very lore heavy haunt, super narrative based, which I'm always a fan of at HHN.
Right. Right. Great intro. Yeah, love it. Um, Going right off of that last thing that you said, our first question for our buy or sell game that Billy will start with is one of the main knocks we're going to talk about later on for the Icons House from 2021 is that it didn't really kind of advance the lore or the narrative of a lot of these icons. Maybe the storyteller, we'll talk about that more, but other than that, everyone just kind of did their same kill that they have done. So my question for you, Billy, is do you buy or sell the idea that Chaos and Control will substantially advance the lore of both Jack and Oddfellow?
This is one that I'm willing to buy. I think each anniversary year we try and do something a little bit different at HHN. Some are more celebrating on the lore, some are more celebrating of just the history of the events itself. I think 2021 as a year was more of a celebration of the history and didn't necessarily feel like an icon or anniversary year, at least to me. So with 2026 being the next anniversary, I think we get back to that. We get back to that icon presence. We get back to like we did in 2023 with Oddfellow taking over.
Love it. Yeah. I should also mention too, I mentioned to Billy earlier, 45 seconds per person. So if you hear me interrupt him, it's not to be rude. It's that we're keeping it snappy. So okay. So Billy buys. Okay. 3, 2, 1 for me to start. All right. I'm gonna also buy it as well. So I think one of the things that I remember from the announcement was they made a big deal about the fact that Jack and Oddfellow are working together. That they realize that they both kind of want similar things, and that it's a whole lot easier to work together to get it than to not. So that seems to fly in the face of a lot of the lore that we've already had for them. They've always kind of been enemies, and when we started rumor season, it was always Jack versus Oddfellow. Well, it's not versus this time. It seems like they're going to be working together. So I am predicting, yes, I will buy the fact that this will substantially advance their lore by making them allies and maybe setting up a final challenge later on.
I love it.
Cool.
All right.
All right. So we're buying.
All right. Next one. So do you think do you think Chaos and Control will be a top 3 house of the year for both of us?
Okay. I'm actually going to go a little bit different and say sell this one. I don't
Ooh.
think so. So I think partly that is I think that they're building this up so much that they're saying, it's the most technologically advanced house we've ever done before. I don't think it's gonna be able to live up to the hype. One, and two, I think maybe more some of the other rumored haunts, especially the originals, seem way more interesting to me. There was this one about maybe like a BuzzCon Vanity Ball, and like I love Vanity Ball is like a top 5 scare zone for me of all time.
Agreed.
Some of the this HR Blood and Guts, I'm so excited to see him. So I think there's a lot of good competition, and I think it's getting hyped, and so sell.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, I don't know.
Go.
As much as I want to buy it, I think I'm going to sell it as well.
Ooh.
I think Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins is in my top 10 of all time. I think it's a phenomenal haunt, but I was not expecting it to be a phenomenal haunt. So I think if I get my hopes up for Carnage or Chaos and Control to be on the level of Twisted Origins, I'm going to be set myself up for disappointment. Having lesser expectations allows me to be blown away more. I'd rather
Makes
be
sense.
pleasantly surprised by something like Fast and Furious. I know it's your favorite. The 3D ride, I should say,
No,
as
the
opposed
greatest of
to
all
being
time.
blown away by something like Monsters Unchained, where it's already
Right.
should be spectacular.
Makes sense. Looks like sells for both of us. Yeah, that's maybe interesting. Yeah, maybe I don't think I expected sells from both of us. I thought I was going to be kind of the contrarian there, but guess not. Okay. All right. Over to you, Billy. So we're going to talk about it a lot more in just a second when we talk about kind of our HHN 30 recap. The icons played a role, but they didn't play a massive role. We had the icons house, and then there were some callbacks to some like icons like kind of adjacent stuff. And then Jack rode around the area in his little cart, his golf cart, and then Eddie was in lights, camera, action at some points. It wasn't as heavy of icon representation as there has been at anniversary years in the past that we will cover later on. Billy, do you think the icons will make up a larger portion of the event this year in 2026 than they did in 2021? Go.
By 100%. We've already been, or it's already been teased. The Infernal Carnival of Nightmares. That sounds very much like a icon heavy presence and a very narrative focused, overarching theme for the event, as opposed to 2021, where it was just kind of 30 years, 30 fears. That could mean anything. Infernal Carnival of Nightmares leans a lot more icon heavy to me.
Gotcha. Okay, a buy for Billy. All right. I'm gonna go with a contrarian statement here, and I'm gonna say false. I think I'm gonna sell it this one. So I think that we are gonna have the one house. And then that kind of is the equivalent of the icon zone. The show that Billy mentions is I think going to be the equivalent of the Lagoon show. I don't think the Lagoon show this year, if we have it, is going to be icons related. I think that we are going to have less of the icons in the scare zone. Maybe we'll have Oddfellow and Jack wandering the park. But I'm going to say it's going to be about the same that it was last year, not larger. So I sell.
All right, interesting.
Gotta keep it interesting. We can't agree on everything.
We're gonna start getting the Josh hot takes instead of the $6 billion hunt.
Oh, I got lots of them. I'll give them at some point. Cool. Okay, so that is kind of what we know about the event so far. Like we've kind of alluded to, there are plenty of other rumors. We will probably go more in depth into other rumors as they get announced, or as we have more stuff to talk about for future episodes. But we're going to go over to the other factual thing that happened for Horror Nights, is that a lot of these tickets dropped for the year. So this was 2 weeks ago, roughly, give or take. We got the... did we get single night tickets?
Yes, we did.
Okay. We got single night tickets. We got RIP tour. We got 3 house and 6 house unmasking tours. And then we also got premium Scream Night coming back for the 3rd year. The ticket prices, RIP and the 3 and 6 house went up a little bit, as you'd expect. The interesting part that we're going to talk about in our next question, in our 4th of 6 questions, is that Premium Scream is different this year. Billy and I both attended the first year. Absolutely amazing. One of the best nights of Horror Nights of all time. Yeah, 11 out of 10, just crazy stuff. Last year was not. It was not. So we both got an email saying, thanks for going last year. Here's some money off of this year. So if you went last year and you didn't get the email, you should probably just mention it to your Universal representative when you're buying. But the thing that they're doing this year is, instead of just doing the Thursday before opening, they are doing that, but they're also doing it was a Tuesday later in the event, October 17th or something, like mid-October, mid-late October. They also claim to be capping attendance. They didn't say what, but capping attendance more than they did this year. So to me first, our 4th question is going to be Premium Scream Night going to 2 nights and capping the attendance will put the event into the same ballpark roughly as it was the first year. 3, 2, 1, go for me. I am going to go ahead and I am going to buy this one. I think that after the absolutely horrendous reception of the event last year, and deservedly so, Billy and I we haven't done an episode on it. Maybe we will at some point later on. But we ended up we got through all 10 houses, but we barely did. At least Billy did early entry. I didn't do early entry. We barely got through all 10 houses. So I think it can't be much worse than last year. And I think that there are going to be so many people that heard such terrible things that they're going to wait and see before they jump in. So I will buy this. I'm saying it's going to be better than last year.
I'm also going to buy this. Maybe it's just the optimist in me, but like you said, I don't think it can be much worse than it was last year. And I do think that Universal is listening to the feedback, and HHN is in its 35th year now. They know that this is the type of experience that so many of us have wanted. And for us to completely judge this this night's success or failure based off of two attempts, I think is a little unfair. Plus, we, like you said, we've got it spread out across 2 nights right now. I think the August is going to be a lot for the people who are impatient like me, but October is going to be the real one that's going to be interesting to see.
Right. Agreed. Yeah. Fingers crossed. We'll keep you up to date with how it is. But yeah, like Billy said, it can't be much worse than last year, to be honest, how much money it was. Okay, moving onward. We're going to talk about some Hollywood stuff. So Hollywood hasn't officially announced anything yet, so this is all very heavy rumor. Billy and I will be at FanFest nights in a handful of weeks, so a little less than a month.
Yeah.
Which we're excited for, but they haven't announced anything for Horror Nights yet. One of the big rumors that has gone through the community, including by seeing construction, and there's some people that know way too much of these house layouts that claim with a good track record in the past that say that they can predict the previous houses returning based on existing layouts. And the thing that they have told us is that we're getting a repeat. Okay, it's Hollywood, shocker. We're getting Killer Klowns from Outer Space for a third year. Yeah, three-peat. Don't love that. So, for Billy to start with, Killer Klowns from Outer Space returning.
Here we go. Okay. Sorry, my headphone fell out and then it stopped playing audio. And I was like, I don't know where we're at.
No, you're good. Okay, the question for you, number 5 of 6. Killer Klowns from Outer Space returning to Hollywood for a third time in 7 years, with 1 year of COVID in between.
Yeah.
It is kind of predicting it's the canary in the coal mine for a bottom 3 Hollywood event this decade. Buy or sell?
I'm going to sell. Your friendly Hollywood cynic is actually going to sell this one. If last year was a bad Hollywood event, it wasn't because Poltergeist was bad. And for what it's worth, crucify me in the comments or in person or wherever. I thought Killer Klowns was always much better as a haunt in Hollywood than it was Orlando. Thought it was scarier, better effects, more unexpected. Am I excited to see it a third time? Not really, but it could be worse.
It certainly could be worse. Okay, for me, I'm gonna buy it. I did not like Killer Klowns in it was 2019. I thought Orlando was better, to be honest with you. I only did Orlando once or twice, but I think I'm going off of this and then some of the other rumored shared IPs. The IPs don't really get me that excited this year, to be totally honest with you. When you add in the fact that not only is I can handle repeats. I didn't mind. I mean, I never did Poltergeist in 17, but at least it was a decade in between them. This was we did it in 2022. It's been 4 years. Why are we getting it again? Plus not super exciting IPs. Plus another Latin American one, which I'm kind of tired of at this point after 4 or 5 years of doing it. Bottom 3 event this decade. Lock it in.
There's gonna be some drama this year.
Yeah, I'm the Hollywood lover. Yeah, I should be the one excited about it, but we'll see. I always give Hollywood a fair shake. Moving on to our other American Halloween Horror Nights, quote unquote, experience. Let's talk about Horror Unleashed. So the big news from Horror Unleashed this month or so is that, like they did for Christmas time when they brought in Krampus, they are bringing in the Feaster Bunny for Easter. It's going to run for another few weeks. I will be there next weekend, and we'll talk about it in our next visit. Like last time, they're going to do some special meet and greet type stuff with different characters. But unlike last time, it seems like from what I've seen, there's also going to be a little outdoor maze section. In addition, an Easter egg hunt. Where you have to go through the houses or something and find these Easter eggs, and then you can turn it in for a prize. So all of those things are very exciting and very new. So the last question, 6 of 6 for me, is going to be Feaster Bunny is going to be the better of the 2 holiday events, this or Krampus. I'm going to buy this. I think this is an easy buy. This may be the one I lock in, but we'll talk about that in a second. Krampus is all right. It was basically just some meet and greets. I think that the Feaster Bunny character may not be quite as interesting as Krampus. And I like some of the performers for Krampus, I think, more than I've seen for the ones for Feaster Bunny. But to be honest, I think the scavenger hunt seems really, really fun. And like, especially if it's something you have to go through these houses multiple times. I think it's going to be way more fun. This outdoor maze is going to be interesting, especially like in the hot Vegas sun. It'll be weird going through Horror Nights house, quote unquote. But yeah, I think this is an easy buy for me. How about you, Billy?
Easy buy for me as well. Again, this is what the second event that this Horror Unleashed has done. They're still finding their footing. They're still finding out what works. But this rotten egg hunt, I think that they called it,
Yeah.
that sounds great. This sounds like Krampus was easing into it, with the basic stuff, your meet and greets, things that pretty much any haunt could do. But this sounds like Horror Unleashed finally coming into its own and taking advantage of its setting and its opportunities and creating something specifically tailored to that. So, buy for me, 100%.
Great. Yeah, easy buys for both of us. Okay, cool. That is going to be 6 of them. So let's kind of recap what we did here. So I think we both said buy for the first one.
Yep.
Then we both said sell for the second one.
Controversial take this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, which is interesting. Then Billy, you said buy for the third one, and I said sell for the third one, which is that's a hot take, I think. Then we both said buy for the fourth one, which is talking about Premium Scream Night. Billy said sell for the Hollywood one, thinking that it's not going to be the worst of a decade. And then I said buy. I'm not super excited about it this year, which is okay. Then Horror Unleashed, we both said easy buys. So, Billy, what I want to know is we're going to lock in one of these for you as part of our little race here. What is going to be the one that you want to lock in to take to the end with you? What is going to be the one that gets you these coveted bragging rights?
I am locking in that the icons will make up a larger portion of the event.
Ooh, okay.
I'm locking it in. I think between potentially new entertainment options, haunts that we've heard about, scare zones, the fact that even though we didn't necessarily have icon years the past couple of years, we still had iconic presences. I think we're seeing a return to form of what I would consider the glory years of HHN. I think we're going to get something that's very akin to 2023 in terms of park-wide cohesion and narrative. At least I'm hoping so, and I'll look a fool if not, but the
Man, I hope
optimist
so
in me
too.
is winning out.
I certainly hope you're right about that. Yeah, I'd be very pleased if I'm incorrect about that idea. I'm gonna go with the Horror Unleashed one. From what I've seen, it looks like a lot of fun. The scavenger hunt is something I've always kind of wanted to either do at a theme park or like build for a theme park as a third party. So I think that is going to make this a really, really good time at Horror Unleashed. So I'll have my answer faster than Billy. I'll have his answer, but we'll get our answers, tally them up at the end of the day later on.
Have you
So
seen any have you seen the actual sheet for the rotten egg hunt at Horror Unleashed, Josh?
I've seen it. I haven't looked too much at it. I don't want it to be like super spoiled. I want to be mostly surprised, but yeah, I vaguely saw it.
I was gonna say I briefly saw it. It looked much more than just a, collect your 5 eggs or so. It looked very in depth and very thought out, not just something that they could think about the night before and kind of put out and say,
Right.
"Oh, this'll work." So,
Right.
I'm very excited to hear about it.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm pretty thrilled for it. I wish they'd given me a little bit more time, so I didn't have to kind of book a last minute flight out to Vegas. But I'm very thankful. It's one of the good things about living on the West Coast is that it's not flying from Orlando or the East Coast where it can be really expensive.
Right.
So, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It'll be very interesting to see at the very least. So yeah, that kind of is the end of our little game segment here. Yeah, we're doing good. But we've got about 30 minutes to talk about the HHN 30 recap. So, like we talked about earlier, what we want to do is we want to go over HHN 30, which we both visited. I did 2 weekends. Billy did a weekend. Pretty low for him. Pretty normal for a while for me. And talk about some of the things that are specifically related to the anniversary. So past callbacks. It really seems like we're going to get a lot of callbacks in the event this year from what the rumors are saying. Instead of just talking about all the houses, as much as I would love to talk about my favorite puppet theater, we're not going to. Maybe later. So, first, Billy, let's talk about maybe just some overall thoughts about the year as specifically an anniversary year before we jump into individual components. What was did you get a vibe from it? Do you think it was a good anniversary year? What do you think?
Out of the anniversary years I've attended, which would be 2010, 2015, and 2021, I think it's a solid second place for me. Um, as I mentioned earlier, it didn't fully necessarily feel like an anniversary year to me. It didn't really feel I didn't get that unified theme. Like 30 years, 30 fears, yeah, pretty generic. That kind of encompasses everything at HHN. And a few of the haunts and scare zones we'll talk about a little bit later personified that anniversary callback celebration in a sense a little bit better than I think the event did as a whole. But if you close your eyes and think about it, there's a lot of other events that I think have felt more anniversary-ish. And I think that, at least for me, mainly comes to having a overall unified presence in a sense. And I do not remember really getting any of that during 2021.
Yeah. I think that's fair. So I have only done this year, the 2021 this year
Right.
as an anniversary year. So I don't have a whole lot to compare with, but I do have, what I've seen online and watched plenty of videos and stuff. Um, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's post COVID, so it was the whole weirdness of all that
Yeah.
stuff. It's not quite the event that we would have gotten in 2020, although it would have been, somewhat similar, I'm sure. Um, it, yeah, it felt like it was just kind of like, oh, so you want these characters here, have them. Like there wasn't like this like yeah overarching narrative or and like we kind of mentioned, it didn't feel like a whole lot of narratives were like super advanced. It was just kind of store the icons on the shelf for 5 years and then bring them out and go like, hey
Yep.
guys, here's your
Yep.
icons.
You
How
guys
you like
wanted fan service? Here's some
yeah.
fan service. Wait,
Right.
you wanted more? You wanted more than
Right.
oh well. I
Nah.
don't know if we can do
Mhm.
that.
Right,
That
right. Here are their
concept's gross.
kills. Yeah, yeah. So, and I think, especially for me, I would like to see more representation in the scare zone. The scare zone, I think, are really the kind of they're not my favorite part of Orlando's events, but the kind of the hearts of the events. Um, but that's okay. Yeah, okay. So I think we kind of gave our thoughts. So the most like obvious anniversary aspect was definitely going to be icons captured, the haunted house. Um, Billy, what were you kind of expecting? What did you get? Some favorite scenes? Kind of walk me through some what you remember
I
from your only a handful of visits.
Yeah. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer because this is gonna sound a lot harsher than I intended to, but I remember being very like this is probably my number one biggest disappointment in
Ooh.
HHN history. Um,
Mhm.
which, like I said, doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing, but I was envisioning something more akin to El Artista. We're going into each icon's domain. We're getting these grand sets, and these grand narrative pieces. We're getting essentially, or I was expecting essentially something like chaos and control for each and every icon combined into one haunt. And we very clearly did not get something of that scale, but
Yeah.
that's mostly on me for my expectations. Um, and I would say, overall, icons captured as a haunt, it was fine. But it was just very familiar. These are the quote unquote signature kills or the iconic kills of the icons. This is their what they're known for. But we already got to see them do this in 2006 with the arrival. We saw it in 2015 with the icons captured scare zone or the
Mhm.
no icons HHN, too many subtitles of icons that you see. But
Right.
and I understand bringing it back for another generation, bringing it back isn't a nostalgia trip, but there just wasn't enough done with these scenes to really get me excited. I mean, I'm glad Lady Luck finally got masks that weren't like Party City quality. And it
Mhm.
was cool to be able to visit stuff that hadn't been brought to life before, like Lady Luck and Fear's Lantern. And did you know the vines say icons, Josh? Whoa.
For all my sports fans out there, that's the equivalent of, do you know that Jimmy Graham played basketball? You don't get that, but
No,
all
I
my
don't get
sports fans will.
that. Just
All
kidding.
right, continue.
Um, in lesser known trivia, though, I don't know if you guys know this, but each victim in Icons was wearing the shirt for the event year that featured the icon that was killing them. So, the first victim of Lady Luck had the 2011
Mhm.
shirt on, and so on and so forth. But the Usher in 2009 was not featured on any of the merch that year. So they had to make a custom shirt for his victims, which was just the
Interesting.
banner image that you saw in the Scare Zone in 2015. So, fun fact there. But yeah, this was Icons Captured was unfortunately been there, done that, seen it before. Good trip down memory lane, but it didn't do anything to get me excited about these icons. It didn't get it was like going to a zoo almost. It's like, oh yep, there's the tigers. They're doing what tigers do. There's the monkeys. They're doing what the monkeys do. There's the bears. They're yep. All right, that was fun. I'm glad I saw everything, but I was hoping to see something a little bit different than the last time I was here.
Yeah. well, it's funny. I've seen the split between it seems like older fans and newer fans. Um, was this the best haunted house I've ever done? No, it wasn't the best haunted house I've ever done. Did I like it a lot more than Billy did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. So I guess for a little bit of history from me, I grew up in the Midwest. I couldn't afford. I didn't have a job to go down to Orlando every single year, and then I went to college. And then I couldn't afford to fly out to Orlando, and then I got my first job, and then I couldn't afford to go out to Orlando. I really only started going in 2019, but I followed the event for so long. I remember seeing Theme Park Review unboxing their like
Yeah.
2007 media gift and thinking like, oh man, that's so cool. I really want to go, and seeing the old
Dreamscape.
website. Yeah, yep. Screamscape had like classic reviews that I would reread 1,000 times. So I didn't go until 2019, and so like these characters, I never got to experience them in all of these ways that Billy has said. So for me, it was just so exciting to just be like, look, there's this character that I've followed, that I've read about for a decade or more, and now I'm like actually seeing them in person when they're jumping out at me, and so I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. It was, I think this year is wholly underrated. But I think it ended up being like a top 5 haunt for me pretty easily. And in a normal year, a less good year, this would have been a top 3 house for me. Um, yeah. The facade was good. Yeah, I don't think any of the scenes really like stood out to me. I didn't get as much of a kick of the storyteller having like a vampire beetle form or whatever that she
I
did that
thought it
was
was
new.
cool.
It was, yeah, see, exactly. I was gonna say like the split between us, but I thought just it was just fun and just so good and just so awesome seeing these characters is I guess what I would say.
I think you bring up a couple of good points that I may have forgotten to mention at the beginning. I think Icons Captured kind of sums up my feelings about the year. This wasn't necessarily an anniversary year for fans like me that have been going forever. It was an anniversary year for fans like you who had not been able
Yeah,
to experience the event as
right.
much. And I think there was one haunt that we're going to cover later that was tailored specifically
Hmm.
for fans like me, and I'm sure those of you
Hmm.
can guess which one that was. But that's okay. Icons was still fun, and I'm glad that you got something out of it. Very, very good. And I know that everyone I've talked to, for the most part, has had like a lot of great things. Like this is a lot of people's number ones, which that makes me. That's awesome. I'm glad that you guys got that out of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it is funny. The house you're talking about, we'll talk about not next, but the one after. And it seems like that was like the like I've been going for like, 15-year veterans that loved the house and
But
and
back.
yeah, exactly. And just would go on about how great it was. But before we get to that one, we'll talk about the other kind of like what I consider like the anniversary house is going to be Welcome to Scary. So this was the last house in the MIB plot, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Final answer.
Um, yeah, and so this is in the Men in Black plot. It followed a lot of the as a mashup of a lot of the haunted houses from that have been held in scary Ohio over the last decade or 2 decades. So that includes ones like Hive, right? Was some
Mhm.
of the beginning. HR Blood and Guts, the Leave It to Cleaver, Legendary Truth. What are some of the other ones I'm missing?
Dead End, The
Mm,
Spawning.
Hmm.
Do you say schoolhouse?
No,
Or schoolhouse and orphanage.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And then Hellgate Prison was the last room, quote unquote,
Right.
hallway.
Right. Yeah, yeah, it wasn't a ton. Okay. So I think for me, some of the to be honest with you, this is the house more than any of the other ones that I kind of didn't appreciate at the time, and I like it more and more now that we're 5 years out from it. Um, I think part of that is also like I read about all this stuff. I not only did I read about this stuff when I was growing up, I have read about it a lot more since. And so I think I have a much greater appreciation for all of these, like not the icons, but like the supporting characters around a lot of the icons. Your meaty meats and your HR blood and guts and all of these characters. I know a lot more about them, so I want to have experienced them more, I guess. In addition, some like I love the legendary truth Wyandotte estate aesthetic of like the haunted house. It maybe feels a little, it reminds me a little bit of like Cedar Fair haunted houses, but I love Cedar Fair haunted
That's not always a bad
houses.
thing.
And it's sometimes a bad thing, and then sometimes it's just like it just feels like home, you
Yeah,
know.
the rooted.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, for the um GA Breckenridge Erie Estate at Cedar Point. Um, yeah, they were good. They were fun. Um, yeah, I don't know whatever his name is. Yeah, I thought it was really good. I don't know if you all have gone to the uh flea market, the antique store, antique mall in Lakeland. But there's a place that sells a bunch of HHN collectibles. Maybe Billy might talk about his visit soon, hopefully, fingers crossed. But they have like the two heads of the two that welcome to Cary, Ohio signs at the store.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
one of these times I'm going to buy it. I'm going to mess around and I'm going to buy it. How am I going to get it home to California? I don't know. That's a problem for future me.
We'll just hack it up and then you can reassemble it.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I think that this house is the one more than any other ones that like I am much more fond of it now than I was at the time.
Okay, I can see that. That makes sense. My sentiments are kind of the same. I feel more nostalgic for this haunt than I was when it was actually there. Um, I would still kind of classify this the same way I classified icons captured, and good, not great, fun, but not legendary. Um, I'm sounding like a jaded old boomer veteran here, but um, a lot of these haunts were really good haunts, but when they were brought back for this compilation, they didn't have their like signature effects, I guess would be the best way to kind of describe it. The scene that was brought back from Legendary Truth, the actors in the boo holes on the sides, those guys were on roller skates in the original. So it actually felt like, or it actually looked like they were ghosts like whooshing by. Here they were just your standard, pop out scares. The orphanage fire effect, real live fire effect in the Jaws queue. Didn't get that here, which I wasn't expecting to actually see in the haunt anyways. But I think about all the great scenes that uh, were compiled in this compilation, but they just didn't quite have the same magic they did the first time for me. But again, that's okay. I don't think that this haunt was made for me. If it was made for me, and I was actually thinking about this before we were filming the podcast episode, I would have liked to have seen this one be the Revenge of the Tooth Fairy of the year. If you could have taken Welcome to Scary, but added a cool narration and maybe a storybook element to it instead of just being a room after room after room, I think that would have been a lot more impactful um, than what we ended up getting, which was just a collection of fun, but in the end, harmless scenes that were good for a good jump and a good reminisce, but not a fully immersive and exploratory haunt in the veins of, the other ones that year, like Wicked Growth. Wicked Growth felt like walking through a real environment. This kind of felt like a clip show, at least to me.
Okay.
That's my jaded negativity for the episode. I'll perk up here in a minute, I promise.
Really, I like that idea. I think maybe we should make that one of our podcast episodes at some point. Is take a bottom haunt, a couple of bottom haunts. What would you do to make them a top haunt, or at least a mid haunt? I think that
Bye.
would be a fun thing to talk about.
I buy that. Let's do it. I
Okay,
we could
deal.
we could have fun.
Yeah, that'd be a good time, I think. Cool. Okay, I think that's all I got to say about case files. So let's move on to Billy. That's all I have to say about Welcome to Scary. Let's talk about case files.
Woo!
Billy, I'll let you off the chain for this one.
Oh, I've
So
got
tell me
I've
about case files.
one of the saddest moments of my life was only being able to do case files, I think 4 times during my
Mm,
HHN trip, and that was it. And uh unfortunately, I won't go on this soapbox too long, but 2021 was a very difficult year for me personally and professionally. That was compounded by the fact that I was only able to go to HHN for a night and a half, which is the least amount that I had ever been able to visit. So,
mhm,
and having a spectacular haunt like Case Files and not being able to do the lights on tour broke
mhm.
me inside. But this is the type of haunt that I love. Might not be the most immersive or technologically advanced or the scariest, but the sheer amount of detail. And I'm not even talking about just Easter eggs and lore, which trust me, there's plenty of it if you're looking, but just each scene had so much to look at and so many layers, and it was every time I went through I felt like I was seeing something new, or I could just get lost in the moment because it just felt so real and it sucked me in. I love it. Not to mention Legions of Horror finally
Mhm.
mentioned again. I don't know how closely a lot of y'all followed the Legions of Horror and Legendary Truth, all of that growing up, but when the event was what was this? The late 2000s, early 2010s of HHN, a lot of the backstories we got was through the website. RIP Flash Player, we don't get that anymore.
Exactly. Thanks,
But
Steve Jobs.
I spent more time thinking about HHN, or I spent more time in HHN related activities during the off season on official websites like playing the Legendary Truth games than I did actually at the event, because there was just that much that you could do at home on your browser. But seeing the Legions of Horror brought back, each one of them getting their own room, and you can even find the totems for each of the legions in their scene that corresponded with it. Like, take me home, perfect, no notes, and it was long too. Like, Shrek does not have a good track record in my book. The Shrek queue had 2 good haunts. It was Krampus and Case Files Unearthed, and somehow Case Files Unearthed managed to be bigger, longer, and more detailed than I thought was possible based off of the other, what, 5 haunts we'd gotten prior? 6 haunts, give or take?
Mhm.
Oh my god.
Something like that. Mhm.
So, your thoughts, Josh?
Oh man.
Uh-oh.
Um,
Uh-oh, drama.
I thought it was all right, to be honest with
All
you.
right, thanks for watching the HHN Graveyard podcast, everyone.
It was okay. Um, I thought so. I didn't have a whole lot of attachment. So when the Legions of Horror was really big in 2012, 2013, right? Then they had the park-wide scare zones, the hordes or whatever. That was when I was starting college or like getting ready for college, and like I totally lost track of like a lot of the years, like 12, 13, 14, 15, and then like 16, 17, 18, 19 is when I really started to like get back into it. Like I lost track. It's like I don't have a whole lot of attachment to the Legions of Horror. I thought that the kind of the vibe of this house was really good. I liked the like the hard boiled detective type deal. But I there wasn't I guess the only moment that really stood out to me is the last scene. Oh, no. The Kitty Cat Club was
Okay, I
really
was about to
cool.
say,
I really liked that one.
you can
Yeah,
you can
mhm.
smack talk the rest of it, but you can't You
Yeah,
can't
that was
forget
pretty
about
sick.
the Kitty Cat Club.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, that's pretty cool. For those who haven't seen it, you should go out and watch POV. But you the Kitty Cat Club that's in the New York area of the park, the neon sign. They put a neon sign inside of the Shrek queue, and you walk into this facade, and there's a woman she was actually singing, right? It
Yep,
wasn't a recording.
yep,
Um,
live performer.
yeah, yeah, like a live performer standing up on stage, like singing. Like it was really cool. I will say that. And then the last scene where Tim Foyle or whatever the dude's name was. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's sitting there with his mouth open and his eyes open, like the lights like pouring out of him. Whatever happened to him. Um, but other than that, it's like I didn't have a big like strong emotional attachment to it. And Legions of Horror hasn't really been a major part of Horror Nights lore in the last like decade, right? Like they haven't
Yeah.
really touched it much. When they have Boris, they have a lot of this other stuff,
Well,
Legendary Truth even,
they had it in the
but
tribute store this year. Well, 2021. There was some mention of, or there was some artifacts that had them on it. But yes, you're
right.
correct. So there is,
Yeah.
the meme of the guy, the stick figure at the party, and they're like, they
Oh
don't
yeah.
know,
They don't know.
they don't.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's me. That's me walking through a scare zone. They don't know that this guy's a bacanoid. Like they don't just don't get it. That's a Karazhan.
Yeah.
Pronunciation butchered horribly, I know, but it's part of the
Oh
show.
man. Right. But yeah, I mean it was okay. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. So
I think one of these days I'm going to get a Legendary Truth deep dive video out because there's a lot to talk about. It's just so cool, but trying to find the time and the conciseness and the resources to talk about it, since HHN wasn't as much of a worldwide phenomenon when all of this was going on. This wasn't really advertised a lot of places. There was I've been researching some for the countdown, but there would be Legendary Truth events on the final night of HHN for the super fans, and they would have events that everyone would do, and there was maybe 100 people that would show up. You get to see the creative team, you get to see uh, some actors that portrayed Legendary Truth, but this was like how people were for Art the Clown at HHN this year or this past year. That's what it was like for Legendary Truth, except for the number was significantly smaller.
right, and I think it's also important to say that like 9, 10, 11, 12, 2009 to 2012,
Yep.
2013 was really the shift from like the old school internet where you would make a website and post your pictures on the website to social media
Yep.
and YouTube. And so a lot of these people have posted a lot of this stuff to their YouTube channels or their Twitters at the time, all this stuff that they then deleted or lost over the years. I think Twitter deleted like all 2014 media, pre 2014 media. So like, there's just like a lot of like lost stuff. We lost a lot of the big Horror Nights websites too, Agent Vault, all this stuff. There's a lot of media that's missing. So yeah, it makes it very difficult to read and to learn more about it from contemporaneous people. But
Do yourself a favor, just clear out an afternoon and just watch case files and just look at some lights on pictures, read the post-it notes. Just even if you don't know anything about HHN, it's fun to see what you can learn and the depths that this event has at one point had.
mhm. Yeah, cool. Okay, moving onward. The Icon show for this year is going to be Marathon of Mayhem Carnage Factory. So this is following up on the very popular 2019 Marathon of Mayhem. What was the
I think it
title?
was
I
just
don't
Marathon of
remember.
Mayhem.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I
This
think so.
was number 2.
Right. This is the second one to be followed by Ghoulish and then dot 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 and then our most recent one as well. Yeah, I think that I enjoyed the show. I thought it was fun. People love the 2019 one for the music. I mean, you had some like real bangers in there, like the Ghostbusters music you had in there, which is awesome. They did the Beetlejuice music.
Yeah,
No, that was this year. 2021. 2021 was Beetlejuice. 19 was not Beetlejuice.
yeah,
I know
20.
they had Ghostbusters though.
I think Ghostbusters still appeared in current. I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
Um,
But I thought this one was fun. I remember they had, yeah, I remember a lot of saws. I remember Jack's imagery was really like saw related in this show. I don't remember him getting a ton of screen time, to be honest. I think it mostly focused on the IPs. I remember Leatherface getting a bunch of screen time. I thought Beetlejuice did, but maybe I'm imagining that as well. Um, yeah, I don't know. It was okay. It was fun. I'd rather have a real stage show. What do
Mhm.
you think?
I don't really have a strong opinion because I saw it once and pretty much forgot about it.
Yeah,
Not for
same
lack
here.
of trying, but that was the sacrifice that was made for having only being there for a night and a half. Um,
Right.
Out of everything to see, the Lagoon show is unfortunately not at the top of the priority list, but I think the sentiment of is if you're going to carve out time in your night to see a Lagoon show, you know more or less what you're expecting. And I feel like uh Carnage Factory, yeah. I
Mhm.
feel like Carnage Factory delivered on that. It good 15 minutes to pass the time, cool down, celebrate some of the IPs, get a little of your 15 seconds of your icons, Jack the Clown and all of that. But harmless fun.
Right. Yeah, that's perfectly fair. We got about 5 minutes left, so let's wrap this up. Let's talk about the scare zones. So there are going to be three scare zones this year that are either anniversary related, or kind of callbacks. So the first one was 30 years, 30 fears, which was going to be at the Minions land right in front of Villain Con. It had a handful of like big like billboards. They had with 30 years, 30 fears, some of the art on it, which looked pretty good actually. And then some of the minor characters from throughout the years. They had the lights, camera, action scares on in Hollywood, which is my personal favorite. That's Eddie is making a movie, and he invited a lot of his monster friends. So they had some of the aliens from like Invasion, from Vamp 55, from a bunch of the different ones throughout the years. And then finally, the Terror Queen was in Central Park. I don't remember what the scare zone was actually called.
Gorewood Forest.
Gorewood Forest. There we go. And Terra Queen was there. As far as my thoughts, I'll be brief because we do want to finish up pretty quickly. I thought it was really cool they brought back the Terra Queen. She's every 15 years,
Yes.
right? So 15 years after her event, they brought her back. I look forward to seeing her in 45. Lights Camera Action was so much fun. I love Hollywood. This Hollywood scare zones, and I just love seeing all of these old characters again. And then Eddie walking around with his chainsaw, just so much fun. 30 years, 30 fears, boring. Don't care. I didn't really like it that much. There wasn't much to it.
Your
Those characters never
your
are much.
intro zone.
Right, exactly. Any thoughts about those zones?
Yeah, I guess I'll go in reverse order. 30 years, 30 fears, intro zone. Nothing to write home about, but I did appreciate that a lot of the characters that were brought back, or to most maybe the nameless ghouls, were older HHN characters from like the early 2000s, or the Iniquitous from the Legions of Horror from 2012. I thought it was cool that those characters were resurrected, but it was kind of a bummer that you didn't really know who they were.
Right,
You knew who
right,
they were, and
right,
the sets and the area didn't really do anything to enhance that. So
right.
it is what it is. Let's Camera Action, probably the best of the year. Maybe Gorewood Forest. They're kind of tied. But I also very much enjoyed seeing Eddie in the flesh roaming around. Lots of fun. My only complaint is that it's a little too much of a typical Hollywood zone, where we've got our stages rolled out. I would have loved to have seen some more organic sets for the uh, other properties like Invasion, Shrieks and Foons, whoever else was in there. I would have liked to see them get something that wasn't just a rollaway float. The story is that, the Eddie's filming a movie about the icons. You're telling me that he's filming a movie and the sets that he built are just stages with these characters' names right at the top?
He's not a
Maybe,
good director.
but
Yeah.
I'm going to be a cynic. But at the end of the day, a lot of fun characters, the right characters that were brought back for good street air interactions and good scares and just fun to look at. So that was a good decision there. And Gorewood Forest, finally a good, I guess I can't say finally, but a very good Central Park scare zone. I can't think of a better place to bring that back. The Terra Queen never really got her due after 2005. I want to say 2015, like that was 10 or like
Mhm.
that, but
Right.
Like 2005 was only like 10 years ago. Nope, that was
Yep.
2015. Oh, but yeah, I love being able to see the Terra Queen just walk around in the flesh again, and Central Park's always a good zone. Um, Maybe the most anniversary-ish feeling scare zones in a sense that in recent memory that aren't just reliant on the icons themselves.
Right.
But overall, not a bad year for zones, not a stellar year either.
Yeah. I think that's perfectly fair. Yeah, we're hoping for better ones this year,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, okay. Our last thing we're going to talk about is going to be one. Jack did go around the park. He would get on his little golf cart and then he would drive around and he would say stuff to people in line. Some icon interaction. I hope to see more from him and Oddfellow this year, to be honest.
Yes.
And then second, we'll talk about the tribute store briefly. So the 2021 tribute store was kind of weird. We talked about this. You're like basically walking through a house. It didn't feel very anniversary-y. So let's talk about the 2021 instead. So in 2020, there was the last section was a Beetlejuice section, which is IP related, and then the first section was going to be like a Frankenstein one, which is fun. And then, but then the middle section was I have plenty of pictures I'll share here, but it ended up being a very like warm fall scene, lots of like red and yellow leaves up top. The Odd Fellow it was predicting 2023. The Odd Fellow Carnival, little truck, little thing was in the middle. There was a Jack statue. They had all the icons uh, banners up all around, bus, all of that sort of stuff. They had plenty of icons merchandise in 2020. We got some amazing vinyl records that I have them. I had to pay through the nose for them, unfortunately. But the tribute store from 2020 was really good. I hope to see another like anniversary tribute store this year.
Yeah. The 2020 felt like a celebration of the event, whereas 2021 just felt a little bit more like a museum. And we didn't really, I guess it kind of, I don't want to defend a bad design, but 2015 anniversary year, we well, let me go back to try and get to the point, because I promise there is one. I promise I'll find my way. But 2010 didn't have tribute stores at that point in time. We got the Hallowed Past as a haunt, which was kind of that warehouse museum style experience where you got two scenes where you just got to be overloaded with HHN's props from the past. 2015 comes around, first time we get a tribute store. You get Jack Presents 25 Years of Monsters and Mayhem as your anniversary haunt, and it does not follow that warehouse museum style that Hallowed Past did. It's just a straight up haunt, kind of like Welcome to Scary, but with a little more icon influence. And then 2021 and then you get your, see, we don't have tribute stores where you get your museum props. The first time they did it, it was very much touted as kind of being a museum that was a celebration of the history of HHN. So now flash forward to the next anniversary year, we get several anniversary haunts, and we again kind of get this tribute store museum style, except for instead of it being this big new thing that it was, it's just kind of like, well, we kind of set this precedent that every anniversary year we find a way to showcase the props and the history of the past. So we kind of have to make it work this year. And they just kind of, and it felt like it was more of a forced, well, it's an anniversary thing than something like let's do something really cool with it.
Right. Yeah. We were looking at pictures before we started recording, and like the props are cool. Like don't get us wrong. Like, we flew all the way to Philadelphia to see this Horror Night stuff. Like we love this stuff. We want to see it, but the design was just kind of it was kind of generic. It didn't really feel like just kind of, it's in a haunted house and there's some glass cases. Billy, did you just briefly?
Yeah.
Did you? I think I shared with you what Singapore did in 2021 when they didn't have Horror Nights. The like exhibit that they put on. Did I share that with you?
I don't believe so. I could be wrong, but it's not jumping to my forefront of my mind.
I will after this.
Okay.
They put on I'll link to it here. They put on this like exhibition. Obviously, they were even more strict about COVID than we were. They were much more strict about COVID than we were. Ask me how I know. They put on this exhibition in one of the sound stages where it was like the Philadelphia Museum, but it was better, and it was just for like 10 years of their event. And all these props and like these big boards with all this concept art and like so much cool stuff. And like instead of having the tribute store have all of these items, what I would like to see them do is take an unused soundstage and stick all of these artifacts in the soundstage and open it up during the day during the event. And so then, like, maybe you can try to convert people that aren't exactly sure what Horror Nights is. You show them a bunch of pictures and stuff, and then we get to spend a lot of time seeing these artifacts without having to, tread through all of the crowds. And we can get designs that don't have to have of the tribute stores that don't have to have these artifacts built in. That's what I want to see.
HHN is a product, and I think we need to see HHN as a product more.
Sure.
I say
Sure.
it partially jokingly, but also 100% serious. Like, why don't we have an HHN museum at the event each year? I know there's logistical reasons behind it, and
Yeah.
that's not fun to listen to, but
Right.
I do think that that's something that should be a staple. We're kind of at we've got tribute stores every year for over a decade now. So why can't we have an exhibition, concept art? Just, we know this stuff is in the archives. We know this stuff is in the warehouses. They say it every year during the Unmasking the Horror tours. So can we find
Right.
somewhere, maybe up front, where Wicked
What Wicked
Experience
is?
was?
Oh man, I would kill for that.
Have
That'd
a
be
little
so cool.
HHN expo there. Plus, it's a good people eater capacity. Like you said, it's something
Right.
that can be open during the day as well. And
Right.
I don't know.
I just want my coffee table book. That's all
Yeah.
I want. Is that
Coffee
too much to
table
ask
book.
for?
Anyone watching or listening to this, that is your homework and
Yeah.
/ your favor that we are asking of you this year, is when you leave your feedback about the event to the official Universal Orlando survey people, let them know that we want a coffee table book about
Right.
HHN with concept art and interviews and all that jazz.
Yeah.
And we want an expo of all of the cool stuff so we
Yeah.
can see it in person.
That'd be wonderful. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, we have covered some of the HHN 30 stuff in the context of anniversary years. So we were hoping to see some of the good stuff from 5 years ago at this year's event, and let's get rid of some of the bad stuff from the event 5 years ago. Let's talk about what we've made in the last, or what we want to show off in the last couple of weeks since we've recorded an episode. Bill, what have you made? Anything cool you want to share since we talked last?
I found a cool rock. Does that count?
That counts for something.
We're getting towards the finale of the HHN countdown. Released the latest episode, I think, right before we did our last podcast. I'm working on part 6 right now. We're almost wrapped up with that. Part 7 should be out soon. Hopefully, I'd say by the end of this month. At the very least, by the end of next month, the HHN countdown will be finished, which is crazy to say. And where do we go from there? Well, probably not HHN, but we'll get there when we get there. We'll see. But yeah. Well, how about you,
Yeah.
Josh? What have you worked
We got to
on?
go to a mid-hunt for the next video.
Listen,
Oh no.
someone's gotta.
Someone's got, I guess. Yeah. So I released a video about the Kate makeup event that Billy and I talked about in our last episode. How weird it is. Go and watch it. If you speak Japanese, please tell me what it says. In the meantime, I've also been working briefly on some of the releasing a video with all of the Japanese zombies. So a lot more footage that I took of a lot of the zombies from Japan. So that'll be coming out soon. Yeah, I think that'll wrap this up. Our next episode we'll talk about in a few weeks. We'll talk about we may or may not talk about 2015's event. 25, we may go a different direction, but we will definitely cover some of the interesting rumors that come through, the interesting announcements. I'm hoping to get some more clarity about universe or about Hollywood, and then maybe even some overseas stuff that we can talk about. And Billy and I will share my Horror Unleashed experience. Billy will hopefully share his Lakeland Antique Mall, some cool HHN artifact stuff,
I'm hoping.
and then we'll go from there.
Buy and
All
sell
right.
some more.
Buy and sell
Maybe
some
we'll
more.
see
Always.
an announcement by then. That was
Let's
Clowns
hope
from outer
so.
space. Let's
Oh
go.
no, don't say that. That makes me sad. But that's okay. Alrighty. Well, thanks for tuning in for another episode of the HHN Graveyard Show. Billy and I will see you next time. All right. Bye.
Bye.